Good evening, I'm Emma Jane Vere and this is Television Tonga News. In the headlines, the Queen Mother Halaiwal Mata'aho names a new Free Western Church building for Isleli. His Royal Highness Crown Prince Drought hands out gifts at the paediatric ward. Hawaii experiences drought, and the Heilala Sakura Japanese Language Centre handed over to the Tonga Institute of Education. These and more stories, including news from the Pacific, sports, world and the weather information later on in this bulletin. Let's take a look at the news in detail. The Queen Mother Halaiwal Mata'aho has named a new Free Western Church building in Isleli as Sikaina. This is held in a special ceremony over the weekend to officially open the church building. Sini Latu tells you more.
The Queen Mother was the guest of honour at the official opening and blessing of a new church for Isleli's Free Wesleyan Church building last Saturday. Also attending the event was Honourable Lupepau Utayone. In the speech delivered by the Queen Mother, she reminded the congregation of the reason for the new building. Thank you for praying faithfully for a new church. God has answered your prayers for a new building that is adequate for the congregation. Remember why you have a new church, to meet God who is the head of the church. Make sure His glory shines through at the church, and that's why I've given the church this particular name. The sermon was delivered by the Free Wesleyan Church President, Reverend Dr. Ahio. I'd like to thank the congregation for overcoming the odds in a new area, being able to gather people for the congregation and build a church for themselves to worship in. Just remember that these efforts were made to maintain your relationship and covenant with God. The new church building was built to replace the old one, which was built in 1987. One church member who is also the project manager of the construction project, Devita Puloka, told Radio and Television Tonga News that the cost of the building is estimated at almost 200,000 pa'anga. There are more than 100 church members attending this church.
His Royal Highness Crown Prince Drought handed out gifts to patients at Viola Hospital's paediatric ward this morning. During his visit to the hospital, he also unveiled an art piece from the Taikami Foundation to the ward. Whataifai reports.
Patients at Viola Hospital's pediatric ward were happy to receive gifts handed out by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Drought. More gifts were also presented to patients who were unable to attend the program. In a speech from Sinakami from the Taikami Foundation, she says this event is also held to mark the Walk On, Walk Strong or WOWS Week. Today we are implementing what the Walk On, Walk Strong Foundation is all about. This is the message we've been delivering for the past 5 years. We understand when parents face difficulties when their children get sick, whether it's cancer or any other illness, and that's what the message is, to walk on and walk strong and let God help you. The pediatrician specialist, Dr. Sels Aho, thanked the Taikami Foundation for the generous donation and also braced the art piece donated by Taikami Foundation into the ward. The painting features a rainbow, and that signifies hope for the young patients. Although children come here in pain or because they're sick, the painting carries hope for them. And what we strive to provide from the hospital, together with the parents, is love, care, hope and faith. Latuhuaholo was very pleased with her gift. I'm very happy with the gifts being presented today. I would like to thank the doctor and nurses for helping me. I would like to thank His Royal Highness Crown Prince Drought for the gift I received, and I'm very honored to have met him in person. There are more than 20 patients at Viola Hospital's pediatric ward. For Television Tonga News, I'm Whataifai.
The Hawaii group of islands is experiencing a drought since September. Hawaii is the driest place in Tonga. The meteorological station at Lifuka recorded a rainfall deficit of 200 millimeters for the island in the past 3 months. It's Whataifai with the details.
In a televised program, the Director of Meteorological Services, Ofafa Nunu, says the average rainfall recorded for Hawaii in the past 3 months is not enough to meet the people's needs. From April to May this year, the average amount of rainfall for Hawaii dropped, has been recorded a decrease of 150 millimeters compared to the normal amount of rainfall for this period. The same thing happens between the months of September to December, when average below 200 millimeters of rainfall was recorded. Meanwhile, Television Tonga's news correspondent in Pangai, Moimoi Fahoa, says the impact of the drought is seen in food crops. Furthermore, the water level collected in the tanks of various homes are slowly diminishing. Mr. Whanunu is calling on the residents of Hawaii to ration their water and use it wisely.
Tonga joins other countries worldwide in marking International Anti-Corruption Day, which is observed today, December 9th. Programs organised to mark the day include a talkback show hosted on Radio Tonga and a televised program, both focusing on the issue. The programs are made possible through the collaboration of Radio and Television Tonga and the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. Here's Kalaini Tongilava with the details.
In a message from the United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon for International Anti-Corruption Day, he says the problem of corruption suppresses economic growth by driving up cost and undermines the sustainable management of the environment and natural resources. Furthermore, corruption breaches the fundamental human rights, exacerbates poverty and increases inequality by diverting funds from healthcare, education and other essential services, according to the United Nations Secretary-General. He believes the malignant effects of corruption are felt by billions of people everywhere, which is driven by the results in criminal activity, malfunctioning state institutions, and weak governance. He further stressed that good governance is critical for sustainable development and vital in combating organized crime. Every link in the trafficking chain is vulnerable to corruption, from the bribes paid to corrupt officials by dealers in arms and drugs to the fraudulent permits and licenses used to facilitate the illicit trade in natural resources. Corruption is also rife in the world of sport and business and in public procurement processes because in the last decade, the private sector has increasingly recognized its role in fighting corruption. A call to action launched by the United Nations Global Compact and partners is mobilizing businesses and governments to engage in transparent procurement. Guidelines are also being developed to help business fight corruption in sports sponsorship and hospitality. Ban Ki-moon also states that corruption is a barrier to achieving the Millennium Development Goals and needs to be taken into account in defining and implementing a robust post-2015 development agenda. The United Nations Convention Against Corruption, adopted 10 years ago, is the paramount global framework for preventing and combating corruption. Ban Ki-moon also urged governments, the private sector and civil society to take a collective stand against this complex social, political and economic disease that affects all countries. He added that in order to achieve an equitable, inclusive, and more prosperous future for all, we must foster a culture of integrity, transparency, accountability, and good governance.
The National Reserve Bank of Tonga estimates the real gross domestic product, or GDP, was approximately 0.2% over the 2013 financial year. This is revealed in its monetary policy statement for the month of September. The statement reviews Tonga's recent economic developments and the Reserve Bank's conduct of monetary policy in the 6 months to end September this year. The figure is lower than the outcome of the previous year, owing mostly to a fall in construction activity. The agriculture industry is estimated to have grown firmly, although its growth is unusually difficult to estimate this year. The Reserve Bank reveals that the gross official foreign reserves increased by 4% from the last monetary policy statement, to reach an equivalent of 8.4 months of imports. This is well in excess of the Reserve Bank's benchmark of 3 months of imports. The bank also forecasts a real growth of more than 2% next year or in next year's financial year. The expected improvement is driven by construction and finance industries and ongoing growth in the agriculture and distribution industries. The Heilala Sakura Japanese Language Center was handed over to the Tonga Institute of Education in a ceremony last Friday. The center was handed over by the Japanese ambassador to Tonga, His Excellency Dr. Kazuchika Hamuro, to the Minister of Education and Training, Dr. Ana Taufe-Ulungaki. Sinilatu has that story.
The Honourable Minister of Education and Training, Dr. Ana Taufe-Ulungaki, and the Japanese ambassador to Tonga, His Excellency Dr. Kazuchika Hamuro, inspected the Heilala Sakura Center, which is located on the Tonga Institute of Education premises. The center aims to maintain the Japanese tradition and culture in Tonga. In a speech from the Education Minister, she highlights the importance of the center.
Beyond these obvious benefits, there are also social and cultural benefits. It is said that language is the tool through which every child acquires the values, knowledge, skills, behaviors, traditions, and the social and cultural mores of his or her language group and society.
In a speech from the president of the student body, Mafito Kifalemama, he is grateful for the center, which will expand their horizons in learning. It's a blessing for us to have the first ever Japanese language center, which will encourage youth to learn and to study this language. You never know, they might pursue it as a career. It also maintains the ties between Tonga and Japan. The center is funded by the Japanese government and estimated at $117,000. During the ceremony, entertainment was provided by the Tonga Institute of Education students. For Television Tonga News, I'm Sinilatu.
Residents in Vava'u are wrapping up the final preparations for the island's week-long activities to begin later on in the week. Television Tonga news stringer Inneafu Lutoviko Tapueluelu says the program will begin this Thursday with a village inspection of all the districts on the island. A combined prayer service and a choral night will be held on Sunday, followed by various dance and singing competitions or performances for the youth next week. Moreover, a display of handicrafts and produce from agriculture and fisheries is also planned for the week-long event. This program is organised by the Ministry of Commerce, Tourism and Labour. Meanwhile, Lutoviko Tapueluelu reports that Vava'u High School held its prize-giving ceremony on Friday. The Ducks' 17-year-old Patelesio Kilifi Vea from Vaimalo, Vava'u. Guest of honour was the Minister of Education and Training, Dr. Ana Taufe-Ulungaki, who presented all the winners and top students with their prizes. From the Magistrate Court, the Chief Magistrate this morning adjourned a theft case worth 800 ba'anga from Leola Duty Free. Folau Lokotui adjourned the case after accepting a recommendation from the prosecutor, Inspector Sifalatu. He says the case, which alleges Katalau Ve'aila from Fasmoyafi of theft, is now estimated at more than 800 ba'anga. Therefore, more time is needed as up to 20 charges are expected to be charged or laid against the accused. The prosecutor also recommended for similar charges to be laid against such offences. That's the local news. Pacific News is up next.